All right, looks like we're ready to get one of the other round two matches started. Zorni and MrTea. Gonna go ahead and hop into this one. All right.
Let's see what we got.
So
Looks like two. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say it looks like green yellow sack from Zorni. Probably one of the reasons that his match with Teddy took so long. Green yellow sack games. Oftentimes taking 20 some minutes for a single game, depending on if both players are playing it, if neither of them are getting aggressive. Those games can go all the way down to fatigue often. So definitely something to watch out for.
Right, green yellow sack on both sides. It looks like, but he's showed. I wonder if they'll ban each other's. Let's see. Zorni's red decks and yellow decks. Let's see. Looks like we have red, yellow, burn probably in the top right, and a mono red, top left, and then yellow with flash wind. So probably definitely not yellow.
Yeah,
rush
it looks like yellow flyers, possibly
Yeah.
yellow rush. I would imagine just yellow flyers. It looks like the only or MrTea has yellow flyers. I would imagine same with Zorni. And MrTea does not want any of whatever Zorni's mono yellow list is, but I would imagine we'll see Zorni play sack first, since Zorni doesn't see any red from MrTea. Blue is kind of scary against green yellow because Frogify is a thing, but maybe Zorni is willing to take his chances.
Yeah, clever to put Laya as your cover art for that green yellow sack, because I mean you could splash Laya into a lot of things.
Yeah,
It doesn't really tell you much about the deck.
Rizo did come to an open with 4 Laya deck covers before, so
and we just saw the 4 Cypher's Wraths from Werfs.
Yeah, MrTea sort of predicting the green yellow sack, and Zorni picking accordingly. Yeah, it's hard to say what these lists. It could be Reaver. It could be Zorni switching it up and going for the sack. Unbeknownst to him, MrTea did pick his mono blue, so I guess this isn't that bad for Zorni though, right? Because he has red, yellow, it looks like burn, and then possibly just mono red to counter the blue. So I mean, if you can beat blue with Frogify with green yellow sack, then you're sitting pretty. So go ahead and see what these players choose to bring. Ooh, Archon, I like that.
There's one of your favorite cards up there.
I love Archon, yeah. Really excited to see that being played in a tournament. Very good card to keep in your starting hand. Very good card to draw late game. All around,
excellent opening for Zorni too with Bone Collector.
Oh, the Bloom Sprite Bone Collector and the Demon Wrangler in hand. Very beautiful
That's
opening
solid.
For both players, yeah. The Colossus in hand could be a little bit troublesome for Zorni if he can't get his big creatures up quick enough, or can't get that Bone Collector buffed enough, but Wind Soldier should kind of help with that. MrTea looking like it's going to be blue jump over a Reaver list.
Now, Frost, did you suppose MrTea will go opposite side and try to put pressure on the left side of Zorni's orb and just kind of ignore trading into those creatures? Like Bone Collector will.
I would probably say that's a wise choice. Force the green yellow list to use their resources to buff their Bone Collector instead of giving them free trades or Wind Soldiers. I mean, MrTea might just rush, but I would imagine it's either going straight or going to the left side for MrTea, and
Looks
kind
like
of stepping away.
Straight.
Yeah, blue can play pretty quickly, and MrTea recognizing that the green yellow matchup is a little bit less favorable for him, He's doing well to sort
I
of
like
put
this.
pressure. Yeah, I like this from Mr. T as well.
Triton
Zorni,
Warrior is a solid card.
yeah, Zorni is not out of it yet. I mean, he has a Demon Wrangler in hand that could be very good. And, you know, Bloom Sprite is always a fun time, depending on what you can draw from it.
And he could play. Let's see. He'll want that Demon Wrangler to block. Looks like he's going for another. This is a tough call. I feel like the responsible play for Mr. T might be taking out that Bone Collector with the Triton Warrior before it gets out of hand, but I wonder if Zorni's going to prevent that somehow.
Yeah, I would not be surprised to see a double. Oh my
goodness.
That is, I mean, in this matchup,
Wow.
It's probably not great. Assuming we're assuming that Mr. T does have Frogify. I mean, you see blue, you have to assume that Frogify is a possibility. But if I was Mr. T, I mean, double neutral, kill the Bone Collector, and just get rid of it. You know, the 4/2 did not proc for Mr. T, so definitely go double collect on the left. Sort of start to, you know, being able to draw every turn, and sort of locking Zorni off from the left side of the board with double neutrals would be pretty strong right here, I think. Yeah, I think he's going to go for it. Definitely going to clear the Bone Collector here.
Yep.
And possibly an Archon behind to maybe threaten the 5/2.
Right, knowing he's in double collection.
Right.
He has another Archon in hand he can play next turn to keep the forward momentum. With that center blue, that center lake.
We'll probably see a Wind Soldier come down to clear the 4/3, and then just kind of a full clear as much as Mr. T can clear here. No real possible clear on the 4/2 on the left here for Zorni, but
it'll come down next turn, start to discount that Wave Crash Colossus, and even be in a position to move on to move out of double collection next turn if he really wanted to put some pressure on.
Yep. Mr. T still double collecting with the 4/2 on the left. Has not procced yet, but another commander is an option for Mr. T here. Zorni is in an interesting position. He has a lot of, you know, creatures that he could be sacrificing, but he doesn't actually have any tools to do so. A problem that oftentimes plagues green-yellow players. Running into too much of one thing and not enough of the other. It's kind of a two-way street. And the Bone Collector will help Zorni, but that Archon is threatening.
I mean, or is this the time where you see what you get off Bloom Sprite? You could drop. Was he hovering over? That's tricky. Because up against blue, Runin and Bone Collector could be.
Well, I don't know if we're going to see Frogify for Mr. T. I mean, I would imagine you're playing blue, you would bring Frogify, but we haven't seen it picked up yet. And the Bone Collector could be an interesting solution here with the Demon Wrangler hitting in, and then the Bloom Sprite also hitting in. But still not quite enough.
He can't clear that. And there's still a chance for it to proc next turn, right?
Yep.
And move up to 6/6 and definitely clear. Or no, it would move up to
The huntress is here.
Huh. Saving his Bloom Sprite probably as fodder for something next turn instead of just hitting into it, I would imagine. But the Sunken Tower's picked up. Wave Crush is getting discounted slowly but surely by that commander, but it has still not procced. Mr. T has not drawn any creatures that cost 7 or more so far this game, except for the Wave Crush in the starting hand. But Mr. T is gonna might have to start drawing for a Frogify or something to deal with that Runin, because that could be slightly problematic for him moving forward. But like Scorch said earlier today, there is ways to beat Runin without just hitting into it without frogifying it. Destroying your opponent's economy is an option, but Mr. T just doesn't have the creatures right now to trade into all the little stuff that Zorni has. So
right, and there's that wave crash, that solid body coming down, and the Sunken Tower is not going to be too helpful at this point.
right.
He already has his aggressive land placement. Let's see, which one does he trade into with Runin? He's not going to get Runin back until the end of the turn.
Right. I mean, he still gets to clear one creature. Technically two if he wants to get some Bone Collector value. Could value trade. I mean, he could step the Runin up, step the Bone Collector to the left in front of his orb, kill the Archon.
Right?
Yeah. Yep. It'd be a 3. Would it be it'd be a 3/6, right? Yeah, 3/6, and then that can clear the commander before it procs to get a little bit more value. Yeah. And then Demon Wrangler on the Village Elder is also a possibility here.
Oh, wow.
Or something, just to get in the way, but yeah.
Spirit Rebirth.
Yeah, one of the best cards, you can get. Maybe not in this situation, but Mr. T did well to make that path to Zorni's face. It's going to force Zorni to step on that lake in the late game. Instead of being able to play some small creatures in front of his orb, that lane is now open for Mr. T for the entire game, if he can keep it clear. But
now Zorni does have the fairy economy to drop Runin again next turn.
He will, yes. 6/6 Runin. If he can clear
no
that.
way to remove that Village Elder over there.
Yep.
And with Spirit of Rebirth too.
Yeah, Spirit of Rebirth, very, very good pickup. If Zorni can just start drawing maybe even like a Doomgate or something to start getting rid of this clutter on his board, he can really, start drawing cards and getting some more Faria, maybe even double collecting on one of the sides. I'm not quite sure what that Sunken Tower was about. I would imagine to, avoid having that value, or trading in the 5/2 on the 7/7 a little bit, and I guess there really isn't like a great time to play Sunken Tower in this matchup because everything is kind of getting cemented into Zorni's face here. But
you could be moving it into double collection so that you can move your Village Elder forward to trade in. But that 5...
Another Spirit picked up from Zorni. This Runin could be a lot bigger than we thought if Zorni chooses to.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of disagree with that Sunken Tower line. Moving that 5/2 into a double collection spot on the right with no real way to deal with it could be a little bit of a mistake from Mr. T. But
that 5 attack is going to be able to take care of a good amount of what Mr. T could drop.
But maybe even trade the Bone Collector, and Mr. T probably doesn't have the Faria to play anything that Runin can't clear next turn. And even if Mr. T does draw the Frogify on Runin, he still can't follow up with anything. He would have had to +1 into it, and now Mr. T is sitting with some Battletoads in hand, and there's really not much to do with them here. I would imagine, either make a land, draw +1 into a Battletoads, but there's really no aggressive line for Mr. T. He's sort of running out of steam here.
We do see the Battletoads come down. I wonder if so no way to deal with that. Oh, Deepwood Stalker.
Now there is,
and you can clear out the Sunken Tower even if you wanted.
Yeah, MrTea does, or Zorni does technically have a full clear here. I mean, using a Wind Soldier on a Frog is not great, but you get to clear the Sunken Tower just to stop another turn of shenanigans. Saving the Wind Soldier, probably the right idea. And we see the Humbling Vision from MrTea. I would imagine that's taking the place of Frogify in this list. I don't know if that's going to be enough to deal with the Soul Eaters, and MrTea
Another
not
Sunken
drawing
Tower,
any creatures here. Except for the Battletoads, but Zorni is slowly catching back up, pretty far ahead on board already, and I think if MrTea loses board presence, I don't think that he'll be able to come back from it.
Right. Zorni's in triple collection. Even with a Frogify, he still has Frogify on Runin. You still have that solid board presence. You've got the crazy value from your Spirits of Rebirth. It looks like they'll be hitting Wind Soldier. We'll see what he picks up next turn.
Yeah, the Spirit of Rebirth.
Collector so far.
Yeah.
Right? He has one more. Maybe?
Yeah, he has one more. Zorni does have one more. We haven't seen any Soul Eaters yet, so those are still.
It's a great point. He has all the lands he needs for those too.
And he'll be able to play it next turn if he chooses to. But yeah, Zorni, I was going to say, to be quite honest, you know, MrTea not revealing more about your deck than you already have. I mean, there's really no point in continuing that.
It's an excellent point.
You know, just kind of keeping that deck a surprise. You know, if people are watching in Twitch chat, you know, it's a legitimate tactic to not reveal information about your list.
Right. No, I hadn't considered that.
Yeah, realizing that you're already really far behind, and I didn't want to mention it because you don't want to like discourage players from playing, but maybe just switching it up and trying something else that might work. And we see MrTea going for the sack mirror match here. It's going to be a long one, I would imagine. These sack mirror matches are very deep. I remember analyzing a specific turn a while ago from one of these green-yellow matchups, and there's just so much going on, positioning and early lands. There's so many factors that go into this matchup specifically that it's very hard to call who is ahead and who is behind oftentimes. It really comes down to who can get your Soul Eaters up faster, who can get bigger Bone Collectors more consistently, and stuff like that.
It is especially exciting to see this at the very top tier of this tournament. Green yellow sack against green yellow sack. It is a very expert deck because there are so many considerations about land placement and who you trade in and when.
Yeah, I mean, like
one thing for sure is Bone Collector is always great early on.
I mean, it even comes down to predicting Wind Soldiers and how big you think they are because of Spirit of Rebirth buffs. Definitely mind games will be happening in these slow matchups. Who's gonna swing first, kind of thing. Who's gonna go in first.
And they're going opposite sides of the board too. So this they don't want to trade into each other's creatures. Got an early Soul Eater for MrTea, but he does have some options. Getting that Demon Wrangler into collection on the other side is great. While also, let's see what the random card is. Another Bloom Sprite. I've had that happen to me before.
That's actually I don't think that's a terrible card to get here. I mean, it's already a card that's in the deck, and it fits right into the archetype as well.
It's a great point.
Yeah, it's a 0 cost creature that could potentially get you another great, green creature, and it gives you that, death for your Soul Eater. So another +1/+1 to your Soul Eater. Could be another, target for a Demon Wrangler, Doomgate, for 0 Faria, just something to play, a body block, maybe not playing it right away, and playing Village Elders, something that, your opponent might not realize you have. And this comes down, to kind of keeping that a surprise. Zorni has no idea what that green card is. It could have been, Runin.
Yeah.
Bloom Sprite adding any green card. It could have been a buff. It could have been Gift of the Rakoa or something. You know what I mean?
It could be Tarim.
Right, it could be Tarim. We don't know.
a random draw.
Yep.
But yeah, those are all excellent points. Bloomsprite would be it's solid to get another one of those.
Yep.
Wow, they don't want anything to do with each other.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, who's going to swing first? It's all about the mind games.
Right?
And if you get aggressive and, you have a bunch of stuff on your board and you think you can take your opponent and, they counter it, your board could be decimated because, Scorch mentioned this earlier, moving into trade range, the player that moves into trade range first usually isn't the one that's going to win those trades, right? Like if you move your creature into trade range and you can't get the trade, then your opponent has the choice to hit in, step back, for the most part, right? So it kind of comes back to that control aspect of green yellow and who chooses to get aggressive first. We see on the left MrTea sort of ushering his bone collector up the board.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
You want that bone collector surrounded by your other creatures.
For sure.
And this is fascinating because it's a completely opposite style of what we saw. The kind of wait it out and see that we saw with Werfs and Mino in the last round. They were waiting for, Burn to throw at each other's faces. This is just waiting to bulk up and get all your creatures on board.
Yeah, a lot of different lists being showed today. And Zorni looking for something to start sacrificing his own creatures, as is MrTea.
Right, he can't reach.
Oh boy.
Doomgate.
Such a good pickup for MrTea.
Let's get it going.
With 2 Bloom Sprites, a Village Elder in hand, and a Spirit on board, there is no reason that MrTea does not play Doomgate this turn and start
Let's go for
sacking his own creatures. I think he's trying to figure. He's trying to figure out his positioning right now. MrTea is he wants to get spirit value. He also wants to get that bone collector value though, as much as possible from the Doomgate. So he moved his spirit back so he could position his Village Elder right next to it. Yep.
Here comes a Doomgate. No way for Zorni to remove that.
And Ostrogoth is a threat here.
For any new players watching who don't know what Doomgate does, when it has 13 life or more, you destroy it and summon Ostrogoth in its place. And when you activate it, you sacrifice a creature, draw a card, and Doomgate gains +2. So when this gets up to 13, if it does, we're going to see Ostrogoth appear on board. And Ostrogoth is a 13 body with haste, flying, charge 13. So that's going to go straight. It can go all the way across the board and slam the orb.
Yeah, Zorni is definitely going to look to try to kill that Doomgate. And we see MrTea. We saw what he was going to try to do. He was going to try to push up the left side of the board, but drawing that Doomgate totally changed his game plan. Now his entire game plan is just built around sort of protecting that Doomgate, getting max value out of it, and his spirit, his bone collector, 2 of the best cards to have on the board for green yellow, and MrTea has them. He has the trifecta on board right now, and he's going to do everything in his power to protect it. But Zorni trying to figure out a way to break through and try to hit that Doomgate to prevent Ostrogoth from popping.
I mean, Zorni is pushing up, but he doesn't. Let's see. I wonder if he. Oh, you know what? He has a Fanatic in hand. I wonder if he. No, that won't be enough because it's gonna go up to 7 this turn, right? MrTea could just throw bodies in front of the Doomgate. How thematically appropriate.
Yeah, that's something that green yellow does very well, is throwing bodies in front of stuff to protect it. And I mean, MrTea literally has, oh my goodness, the Deepwood Stalker. It just does not get much better for MrTea. If we're looking at green yellow, games to highlight for good games, MrTea is playing it, and a bone collector on the draw. Just so many good things going for MrTea right now. And Zorni, with a ton of Faria, it doesn't really matter here. I mean, we're gonna probably see a Fanatic come out, or Wind Soldiers here, but Yep, probably a double Wind Soldier.
Oh no.
Yeah.
There it goes.
Yeah, with Mr. T,
Ugh.
even his huge board just wasn't enough. The Fanatic probably is going to come out this turn just to step the 5/2 up to clear the Doom Gate.
But see how much he had to invest to take that out.
Right, exactly.
You see a drop and you see a building.
Yep.
You have to react to it. And,
an absolute priority. And the Wind Soldier gets hit with the buff. It's now 4/2 in hand for Zorni. Gonna have to watch that later in the game as it increases. That Spirit of Rebirth sitting way back for Zorni. Mr. T, a little bit upset that his Doomgate got cleared, but still has several answers in hand. Another Bone Collector could be a start. Possibly another Spirit. Yep.
Yeah, he's handling the loss of Doomgate better than I would. I would probably still be crying and lamenting its loss.
Yeah. And I mean, the great thing, I mean, Mr. T's Boom Sprites have been absolutely on point this game. I mean, drawing a 0-cost Deepwood Stalker that has a chance to be buffed by the spirits on board and potentially clear, to clear the spirit from Zorni. Yeah, we see the first Deepwood Stalker come out and clear the first spirit. Double Wind Soldier in hand, yeah. Mr. T is absolutely ready for anything that Zorni has to throw at him right now.
There we go. That Soul Eater up to a 10-10.
Just so many buffs coming through for Mr. T and his Bone Collectors.
Wow.
Zorni having a little bit of trouble drawing his own Soul Eaters or Doomgate right now. Running out of targets as he's sort of gotten aggressive, and like I said before, you know, the player that swings first might not be the player that swings last in a green-yellow matchup. Probably going to see a Wind Soldier clear come out for Zorni on one of the spirits on the left.
Right, you want to get rid of those spirits. They're getting insane value each turn.
Yeah.
Even if you're not connecting your own creatures into the enemy, they're sacrificing their own.
Yep. Triple Bloom Spray in hand for Zorni, and nothing to sacrifice them with. Just gonna have to sit on them for a while.
Yeah. Shaitan Assassin, you just hold on to that until you see an opposing Soul Eater, which we don't see from Zorni, and it wouldn't even be big enough to counter Mr. T's own Soul Eater, which just keeps growing.
Yep. Shaitan Assassin, I really like seeing this card. I remember there was a matchup in one of the opens, a green-yellow matchup, that neither player had any Last Nightmares or Shaitan Assassins, and it came down to, you know, Leia was their only Death Touch or solid removal of Soul Eaters. So I'm really happy to see Mr. T, you know, bringing the Shaitan Assassin to, even though it is weak to the Emperor's Command, it's a cheap answer, and it's also an ability that sacrifices a creature, like a Bloom Sprite, for example. So we might see some of that going on here.
Yeah, I know I've been shut down early on when I've had an aggressive Verdurant Force, and you know, you see a protected Shaitan Assassin drop down. You don't have the Emperor's Command in a mono green deck, not always, and
right,
it's solid. Moving back into defensive positioning.
I think that I would have liked the assassin on the Bloom Sprite, but I guess Mr. T wanted to set up the Soul Eater this turn, which I suppose is good too. 13-13 is no joke. You know, it's not a 2020, but that's still a lot of damage coming through.
It makes Zorni have to be reactive again too.
Right.
Just like with when he had to clear that Doom Gate, you have to body block that Soul Eater, but 3 Bloom Sprites though. I don't see how you break through this.
Well, maybe not this turn, but in several turns. That Soul Eater is just going to be annoying for Zorni to deal with. He's going to have to keep a creature in front of his face at all times.
He's got to have 2 more. He's got 15 cards left. And I wonder if this is the only Bone Collector we've seen from Mr. T so far. I can't recall.
I think we've seen 2 so far. There's 2 on board
Okay.
for him, yeah.
Oh wait, my bad.
Well, this is interesting, right? Because the Wind Soldier can clear the... Oh, no, he can't. Sorry. I was going to say the Deepwood Stalker can clear the Bloom Sprite and let the Soul Eater hit face this turn and get on that tile there, possibly getting an aggressive land. Could even have some ideas of making a desert to the right, like above the Fnatic for MrTea,
Yeah.
and then clearing the Fnatic as well.
Oh,
Or yeah, or clearing the Village Elder. I'm not sure. Yeah, so we're gonna see that step down. Pretty much everything steps down. Doesn't really want to use that Wind Soldier quite yet. Leia is probably the better option here. Better stats.
Save that Wind Soldier up.
Yeah.
Let it grow.
Yep.
Aerodon a little late for him.
Blossoming
Kodama he could technically play.
Yep. Oh, Wild Avenger. Such a good card to pick up here to sort of stop that Soul Eater. It's the only taunt in Zorni's hand, the only real answer that he has to that Soul Eater right now. But Leia is tricky. Positioning has to be perfect here for Zorni. MrTea.
I see that statue appear.
Yep. Clamping down on Zorni.
I would kind of see Wild Avenger here, right?
I would kind of like Wild Avenger to be played on the left, just so it can hit in possibly. Yeah. And then maybe the Blossoming Kodama on the right just for pure stats at this point. Aerodon not going to be doing much, I don't think, this game. Both players getting low on Faria. Well, low for green-yellow, that is.
Did he maybe I missed it. Did he draw into the Cone Shield? Yeah. So he still has a choice to he still has a choice to draw again.
Yep.
If he wants.
I mean, there's no Last Nightmare, I don't think, for MrTea. Playing Shaitan Assassin and Last Nightmare is pretty unorthodox. But that Wind Soldier almost big enough to kill the Avenger. Not quite, though.
Yep, easy clear there. Move down, collect.
Just more fodder. Yeah.
Oh, but wait. That Kodama's locked in by Shimmering Statue.
Yep, that's true. It cannot hit the...
Deepwood Stalker can
Deepwood Stalker can clear the Soul Eater, yeah. It can clear, it can clear the Deepwood Stalker can clear the Soul Eater this turn, which is very helpful. Probably gonna end up blocking the Assassin with a Shieldmates or a Bloom Sprite. I would imagine Shieldmates, but Bloom Sprite would work just as well.
Yeah.
But those bone collectors are marching down the board slowly but surely.
Right.
Going to be threatening Zorni's face in a few turns here. That Wind Soldier could be problematic. Priest of Everlife. Not a bad pickup. I mean, if he can draw a Soul Eater, that'd be amazing for Zorni. and clear the... he has to clear that Assassin. That's going to be a little bit of a problem for him as well.
All right, we got a Soul Eater coming.
Yeah, we got a Soul Eater coming. Yeah, you can hear it coming.
See, I always wondered if that is not fair because the opponent can know when
Well, the opponent doesn't know. You
you're
just
drawing.
draw. No, yeah, your opponent
You can't
doesn't
hear
hear.
it?
No, you can't.
But isn't there like
Yeah.
a stall on screen when it's happening?
No, not for your opponent. It's only for the
Okay.
because we can see both players' hands, so
Oh, okay,
it
okay.
thinks that we're both players essentially.
I see.
So yeah. But yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
a
that
pretty
would feel
big
too big.
giveaway if that was true. Yeah. Oh, Deepwood Stalker coming out. Could potentially clear the Stalker on the left for Zorni, or the Wrangler, but yep, gonna go for the 5-2 to make some space for the Soul Eater, I would imagine.
Yep. Oakfather.
Oh boy.
That's a solid offensive drop, maybe.
Absolutely.
And Zorni's just left with a Priest of Everlife on board. 15-15 Soul Eater and defense. Oh wow, Oakfather has a sound line. Ugh.
And not much
Those are
for
some-
Zorni to do.
some
Zorni's
beefy
only
little
real
dudes.
option is to hit in with the Priest probably, and then just draw for a Soul Eater. Oh, that's not a Soul Eater.
No.
I mean, he
4-2.
can. I mean, technically, Zorni could just stall for a little bit, but not gonna be great.
I mean, even if you clear and keep defending, what's your win condition?
Wait,
at
does
this
Mr.
point,
T
you know?
have lethal next turn? I want to. Depending on what Zorni does, Mr. T might actually have lethal next turn. I don't know what Zorni's
If Mr.
plan
T-
is. Yeah.
If Mr. T sacrifices, draws something, and he can sacrifice next turn, he'll get that. Oh no, he doesn't have the Spirit of Rebirth on board anymore, and he's body blocking there. All right.
So is
How
there
many
lethal on
cards are they down
board?
to? Zorni's down to 11 cards, and 10 for Mr. T.
Is this lethal? I believe this actually is lethal.
There you go. You going with the
Oh.
Soul Eater in the back?
I think I actually don't think that it is anymore. Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Because okay, I see it. Yeah, the 5-3 just steps one tile up. Oh. Oh yeah, okay, this
Oh.
works too. No, that works. Yep, 14 steps and then the 15 steps. Yep.
Wow.
Really good lethal find from Mr. T, taking his time there and taking out Zorni.
Yeah, and a lot of credit to Zorni for seeing that through.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
Really trying to make it work. Didn't get the draws early on, and Mr. T had some great fortune with what he got off Bloom Spread.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think
with
Mr.
another
T
Bloom Spread,
drawing.
Deepwood Stalker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Doomgate right at the start, even though it was only
Oh, yeah.
alive for 2 turns, Mr.
Yeah.
T definitely had the better draws in that matchup. But Zorni doing what he could to keep up and could not quite pull it out in the end. But green yellow, like I said, is always hard to call. Definitely
I mean,
pretty
Doomgate-
heavily based. Yeah.
Doomgate again is one of those cards that you have to deal with it when you
Yep.
see it, and when you're far away with playing a green yellow sack mirror, you got to go all in to clear that, and it throws you completely off what you want to accomplish otherwise. So we'll see how they what they bring for the next match. Starting up, looks like red yellow burn against. So I missed the other one.
The obvious counter to sack is to just burn all of their little creatures to the ground.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Zorni playing this correctly. Oh my.
Oh, Garridan.
Garridan in the starting hand is the only thing that could have probably made that better is maybe having a instead of a flame burst, perhaps a I don't know, maybe a brute or something like a creature to go contest with the claims training. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Even
honestly,
so,
you just wait. You just wait for Garridan.
right?
I mean, Shaitan Assassin could potentially bring that Bone Collector out of Garridan range, but I mean, Mr.
Yeah,
T.
you just hold it and go
yeah.
for max value.
Mr. T is going to have to play this absolutely perfectly to have any chance of winning this match,
Yep.
this game.
And I'm expecting Zorni to. Well, what do you think? Is Zorni going to go same side? Just to,
yeah, I would imagine
running
same
some
side.
Like Shed and Brute, Grimguard.
Yep.
There's the Brute.
The Brute pickup is really good. I think honestly, yeah, Explorer and then Mountain to potentially have training in a few turns.
Oh sure.
Yeah, just so you have that Mountain like on the well, but
Set up a collector with
yeah.
Shed and Brute.
Yep. Start collecting this turn. Zorni is debating whether or not he wants to just wait for Garridan. I think that's what he's contemplating right now, or if he wants to flame burst the Bone Collector now. You know what? I don't hate the Brute and Flame Burst on the Bone Collector, just to kill it right away. But I suppose that saving that Garridan value and saving that Flame Burst is probably better for later in the game. Yep. Now the Bone Collector is out of range. And now the 3/6 is sort of in an awkward spot.
Right.
You don't really want to
those deserts.
You don't really want to trade in your 3/6 right now. I don't think. Right. Really, really well done from Mr. T to not only get his Bone Collector out of Garridan range, but to also sort of block the progression of the 3/6 up the board.
Right, Zorni kind of missed, and it wasn't really an opportunity though. But early on, if you can get up to their opposing well with this kind of deck, and start pushing them, start knocking out their creatures before they can drop something like a protected Shaitan Assassin. I mean, now though he's kind of his back foot having to deal with that marching down.
Yeah, Mr.
Bone
T
Collector right behind it.
Yeah, drawing the Soul Eater is going to be really important. I would imagine that Mr. T is going to end up playing that Soul Eater earlier rather than later, just because of you need those stats on your board to deal with some of the creatures that green-yellow has early game, or sorry, red-yellow has early game.
Yeah.
Maybe not right now, but in the near future. Not going to be a late game creature like we're used to seeing with green-yellow.
You know what? Could you technically no, he plays I think he's holding the Garridan and then Cypher's Wrath that
the assassin,
let it collect.
Probably.
Take it easy. He's got a Scourge Flame he's building up to that he could send across the board pretty quickly with. Let's see.
Yeah, so Zorni's actually going to have an amazing turn coming up here. He's going to be able to play Garridan on the right well if he wants, just to double collect, and then he's going to be able to play Kaleem's Training and Cypher's Wrath to hit face with the Brute if Mr. T doesn't play anything. He'll use all of his Faria, but I mean, if he sets up double collection with Garridan, he'll be in a decent spot moving forward. He won't quite be able to clear the Bone Collector, but Mr. T recognizes what the possibility is, and he's probably going to try to counter it a little bit. Yeah.
He's a little spread now, though. He started marching down the left side, and now he's realizing he has to get a bit defensive.
Uh-oh. Definitely just adding value to that Garridan a little bit. Guy has Grace in hand, but...
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
What are we going to see, Zorni?
Honestly, I would kind of like to see a Mountain on the right just to double collect with Garridan. But I'm not sure what Zorni might just play it like behind the Brute or go for the clear on the Bone Collector. but he can't quite go for the
Collection
clear.
on the right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misspoke.
Oh.
Zorni doesn't actually have a movement trick, so I just assumed that he did. I saw the training, but
Okay.
yeah. So Zorni will still be able to clear the Bone Collector. I
Wow.
misspoke. Yeah,
Full clear.
full clear. Yeah, I thought that I misspoke. I thought Zorni
And
had the flash win for some reason, but yeah. So I don't hate seeing a Soul Eater come out right now at all from MrTea. Just to kind of clean up some of the red yellow.
Yeah. He's still going to get in if he drops a Soul Eater to prevent the Shed and Brute from moving forward. He's still going to get that 2 burn damage in. From the
Right.
burn connecting, or from the Brute connecting. Garridan could.
Yep. Well, and Gaia's Grace is in hand
We're
for
gonna see another Soul Eater.
MrTea. So that's a gain. That's
Yeah,
you know,
right.
gain 3 life is a pretty big deal in this matchup. It could be a big difference maker. Double Soul Eater
Yeah.
on board. If Zorni can deal with this, I don't know if MrTea is going to be able to hold on to, be able to take the rest of the burn from Zorni. Yeah, Gaia's Grace comes out.
Wow.
Wow. Grimguard, not a bad pickup, but is going to need a little bit more. That Gaia's Grace actually just moved the Soul Eater out of trade range for Zorni, even if he trades both of his creatures into it now. Scourge Flame is an option, actually, if the Brute on the left wants to double collect or the Garridan wants to double collect. Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing. Later in the game, we'll see how impactful that Gaia's Grace was. But when you're playing a red-yellow burn, and even just the slightest bit of heal from your opponent can really change things around for you.
Yeah.
Looks like he's going offensive to get in as much face damage as possible.
Yep. Forcing MrTea to hit into that Scourge Flame or do something about it. Sort of saying, you know what, you can hit me for 8, I don't care. That's 8 damage that you're not using to clear creatures on your
Right.
face. Yeah.
Yeah, he's in double collection with Garridan. He has 2 Flame Bursts in hand, so clearing that Scourge Flame will mean bringing him down to 11 health. Shed and Brute can knock something to bring him down to 9. And then you can
double
lock
Flame
down
Burst.
that. You can drop a Grimguard to lock down that Soul Eater and get another 2 down.
Yep.
And just kind of hold out until you have enough. But that 8 damage he's going to have to Grimguard.
Yeah, but I don't think Zorni minds that. I mean, Grimguard, it's only going to really be used for that extra 2 damage at this point. And since MrTea doesn't have any real way to clear a Grimguard, other than like a buffed Wind Soldier, Zorni's going to sort of be forced to hit into it.
Yeah.
And now the Garridan can actually clear the Bone Collector, and the Brute can hit face. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
I think Zorni might actually have this one, depending on how the math works out in a second here, but
Yeah.
that's it. Yep, that's the
it.
game. Wow, okay.
And he's going for Cypher's Wrath. Yeah, he had 2 options there.
Yep. Wow, so Zorni takes game
Nicely
number
played.
2. Or 3, excuse me. Game number 3.
Right.
I mean, it was kind of expected, but I mean, MrTea almost brought that one back. Playing very well. Green yellow versus a red yellow burn list. Played very well against it. I think this is MrTea's last option here against Zorni.
Mono yellow. You were thinking this might be Flyers deck.
Yeah,
huh?
probably Flyers, I would imagine, but I'm not quite sure. I mean, it only has 1 neutral, so that might be like Leia or something. I'm actually not quite sure.
Destructive Volley even.
Volley, yeah, there's a lot of options for 1 neutral.
But how would that fare against these 2 red decks? I feel like
I mean, Zorni doesn't have
knockout.
he doesn't have a choice anymore, or MrTea doesn't.
Right. I feel like a lot of the Flyers have low health, 2, 3,
Mhm.
and pretty easy to knock out with. I mean, Choking Sands would be great value going up against.
Oh yeah, Choking Sands is an amazing card against red yellow. We see like Underground Boss and Grimguard, 2 very good targets for Choking Sand already in Zorni's hand. So maybe that's MrTea's out.
Right. Soul Pact kind of work when you're going up against a burn deck. They lose a little value because you're working into their strategy, your opponent's strategy when you deal damage to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, Soul Pact might not be a great option here, but yeah, MrTea is looking like it's going to be flyers. Yeah, it's kind of hard to call this one, right? Because red yellow without the Kalim's training, they kind of have a hard time maneuvering around the board. Unless you can get an aggressive land off of like a training, movement trick line, and like you clear a creature and then you get an aggressive land somehow. Red yellow just literally has to build up the board while yellow can be flying around, and any damage spell that isn't being used on that's being used on a creature isn't being used on MrTea's face. So like a flame burst that's being used on this emissary is one less flame burst that's going to hit MrTea's face later in this game. So I think that's kind of a way to look at this matchup here.
Right, but red yellow burn here. You want to save your event removal for face and get some crazy burn or fairy value off of those Grim Guards and the underground boss. Making a comeback now that it's been rebuffed.
Yeah, underground boss, a card to watch out for. I don't actually imagine that Zorni plays Gift of Steel in this list. I mean, maybe like 1 or 2, but playing 3 could potentially be sort of clunky. That fairy getting procced. Scary fairy in the middle of the board.
Wow. Yeah, over into charge 3, Sunsilk Fairy. You don't see fairies very often, but
yeah. Zorni definitely wanted to Cypher's Wrath that fairy if possible, but oof. And here's where we talk about, I remember Scorch mentioned this right at the start of the day with, yellow being so far ahead that they can afford to get behind by playing a Last Nightmare on a creature like that, just because of how much they're collecting in their positioning and movement. So MrTea showing us that yellow can afford to take that slight tempo loss to or that that slight deficit in Faria to keep their lead on board.
Right. Also knowing that Zorni's so far away from dropping a Scourge Flame, you really can't afford to play that early on. Just keep him on his back foot.
Yeah. That was a little bit of an interesting choice from Zorni to play that desert there. A little bit playing into a movement trick, but I don't know how badly you would want to move your fairy into hitting face. I mean, technically, you could just like move it down and then flash wind it to the left because that's charge 3, but I suppose that desert isn't terrible for Zorni.
Yeah, still so far away from the Scourge Flame. And
Wind Soldier clears.
Select and then clear.
Yep, we're going to see a clear on the fairy.
All right.
Nicely done.
And I would probably go for the one up top. Because then it forces the one on the desert to choose between do I collect or do I trade into that?
Yeah. I actually kind of like the one in the middle more because it takes away the possibility of trading. I mean, like Zorni didn't know that. Yeah, Zorni didn't know that the Soul Drain and Command are in hand for MrTea, but yeah, if MrTea did not have removal, then that would have been the correct creature to clear. But
all right, this is just what you were talking about earlier in this kind of red yellow burn. You want to save that flame burst for face, but here you really have to. You don't want to.
Yep.
He's letting him move forward just because they're not going to be able to hit face just yet.
That last Nightmare pickup is going to be really devastating on Zorni's Scourge Flame, but there's really no other option now. I mean, you have to be pushing face damage That Cypher's Wrath not going to
Yeah.
be doing much. I mean, you could go for a Wrath or Burst, or excuse me, Flame Burst, Cypher's Wrath clear on the Manta Rider, but you know, at this point, you're pretty far behind. Yep, going for the Flash Wind line.
Mr. T does have heal in hand with that Emperor's Command.
Going to be able to heal most of that turn back and Last Nightmare.
He'll be up to 8. He'll have enough for it. You're right. And then I think you just draw into something else, since Soul Pact isn't not useful right now.
I would imagine, to go for the draw. Wow, the Soul Drain. Just like the hard counter,
Oh, devastating.
With 6 Faria.
Soul Pact not going to do it.
Wind Soldier's not a bad pickup here. I mean, he has the full, or Zorni does have the full clear.
Right. Well, clear there, Flame Burst, the Manta Rider, and then you have the Cypher's Wrath.
Yeah.
But you can't do that unless you play Soul Pact.
Yeah.
And you have nothing else in hand.
Yeah, full clearing without a follow-up. Oh, and the Manta Rider pickup is really good for Zorni. Or for Mr. T. Oh boy. The Windborn Champion comes out.
Nice.
He won't be able to play it. He will be able to play it with the Soul Pack next turn. And Manta Rider will be able to hit face. So Zorni's not out of it yet. Not by any means. I mean, you know, Burn is still a threat. So
Mr. T does have the potential of at least 6 heal from hand with Emperor's Command and Soul Drain. Interesting to see how he leverages Windborn Champion. Gift, move a creature. Doesn't have to be your own.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, technically, you know, Zorni isn't out of it yet, but with all of that healing in hand, with Soul Drain and Command, that's 6 healing potentially. I think that might just be a little bit too much for Zorni to work through this game. And with the Windborn Champion, you know, Mr. T needs a Wind Soldier at this point. Smile going to be able to thin his deck out a little bit more if he chooses to, but Windborn Champion most definitely the line here. Flashwind also in hand for Mr. T. Don't think there's much else for Zorni to do in this match, in this game.
Yeah, Flame Burst to clear the Manta. And then, actually, could you, I think he has it this turn. Could you Emperor's Command, Soul Drain, and then Flash Wind your Windborn Champion?
Yeah, that's lethal, yep. Yep. Double Soul Drain.
Soul Drain.
Command works, yeah. Flash Wind.
Down.
Yeah.
There we go.
Mr. T takes game number 4 out of 5.
All right, both opponents. We are tied at 2-2, and we'll see what the final match brings us.
Indeed.
All right, we're going to see a mono red coming from Zorni that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, this could actually be a little bit bad for Mr. T. Mono red might do a little bit better than the red yellow just because of, you know, mono red has possibly Gift of Steel, Brigand, Underground Boss, some decent Faria generation, creatures that can actually collect consistently. So this should be a really, really good match here.
Yeah, he also has the advantage of having seen this yellow deck previously.
It's pretty standard yellow, but still, you know, having that information, you know, he has seen 2 Nightmares so far. for sure from Mr. T, so definitely watch out for that. But yeah, Manta Rider and Kaleem, very, very good pickups. Be able to play both of them if you want, or one of them if he wants next turn. I think I'll actually be able to play both, right? 6, 7. Nope, he'll be one fairy off of playing both of them. But Bomb Slinger, very, very good card to have in this matchup. Flashwind.
That Herald, let's.
Flashwind is gonna help or give the option to Mr. T to clear the Herald this turn with the Emissary.
Oh right, he might be able to clear that.
Yeah, because you could just play Kaleem on his face and then collect with Kaleem.
Yeah.
And then
that'll
that
buff
would
the Emissary up to 5/3. Efficiently clear, or well, it'll clear it, but that combat will hit. Let's see. Herald of War's ability is combat will hit the next creature. Give the next combat creature you summon +1/+1.
Yeah.
So there is. It's not the next creature you draw. There's actually some that gives more control to the player to decide which one they want to summon first to get that buff. It's a little trickier to do the battle math, but
so Zorni has a few options, and none of them are none of them are great per se. The first one is Leia, just making a mountain. I think you make a mountain towards the Manta Rider regardless.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the Ground Shaker, which I guess would technically be the best line, since it would be able to trade, and then you could possibly Rakoa Copter next turn.
Right.
Depending on what Mr. T can clear, but yeah, I think we're probably going to see the Ground Shaker, yeah.
Zorni knows Mr. T has Soul Drains too, which could be trouble for the Ground Shaker and Bomb Slinger. But yeah, it takes your line and drops a defensive Leia.
Oh, I wanted Zorni to play Shaker there. I think that would have been a little bit of a...
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, it would have been able to... Yeah, I mean, Soul Drain's a thing, but I guess Zorni wanted to guarantee the clear on the Manta Rider, or really stop the progression of it, but
yeah,
I suppose there's probably not going to be a better time to play Leia when everything's flying around the board anyways. And I think Mr. T will happily take that trade with a Air Elemental follow-up this turn, just to clear the Shimmering Statue. But Rakoa Copter is a big threat here. Being able to clear both of those creatures and step into double collection. This is actually really good for Zorni if he wants it. Kaleem, Mr. T realizes that, Rakoa Copter was probably coming down, so playing the Kaleem to clear it wherever, there's only 2 tiles that Zorni could play the Rakoa Copter on to clear both of the creatures, but yeah.
We see a Silent Horse Master picked up for mobility, not too optimal in this situation.
Yeah, not great.
With nothing else on board, but
yeah.
Mr. T has dumped his hand. He's all in. He's going to collect. He's going to have 4 next turn with that Kaleem moving into collection on either side. But I think we definitely see the Rakoa Copter dashing up.
Yeah.
Destroying them first and then moving into that. Wait, dash?
Yeah, Zorni.
He left it there.
Yeah, he left it there because he wanted his land to be inwards rather than inside the well. If he wanted to play it, because the 2/2 was sitting on his land there, like the 2/2 was on the mountain that was above the Shimmering Statue, so he would have had to make a mountain in the well, and he still could have gotten it from a different angle, but yeah, the Bomb Slinger is going to clear that. And now Zorni has an inwards land that's more aggressive than a land on the well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you might be able to destroy them first and then dash on top of their land.
Yeah, no, the you have to play it, dash, and then the
I
damage
see.
goes
Then
off.
the
Yeah.
effects.
Yep.
Okay.
So the Soul Drain gonna clear the Bomb Slinger. The Manta Rider comes down to the double collection. Really good turn for MrTea. Setting up double collection. Axe Grinder. Not quite enough here.
Looks like he's just pivoting to put pressure on. Realizing MrTea is a little boxed in. Locked down a bit by that. It doesn't have mobility to move towards Zorni's face. And if Zorni can get an aggressive land, save up a few turns, he could really drop some solid threats.
I mean, Flash Wind for MrTea is good here if he wants it. Clearing the statue is also good. He's just gonna go for the Flash Wind. The Manta Rider, just get rid of it. And the fairy.
And Sunsilk into right in front of his orb, probably.
Yeah, possibly. Probably on the well though. In case it procs, it'll be able to clear the.
Oh right, because this is a.
Really good Grimguard for Zorni, though. Yeah, this game is just going back and forth. Both players fighting both neck and neck for possession of the board. And that, like you mentioned, that, oh boy, that's going to get nightmared.
Yikes.
The Grimguard got the buff from the Herald, and that just adds even more value to this last nightmare. Yeah.
We are going to see that collection... statue cleared, and MrTea as
oh my goodness, another nightmare
going to be able to deal with any major threats.
So Zorni going probably for the obvious +1 Grimguard. But champion and last nightmare both being going to be able to be played this turn from MrTea. This could be very, very, very bad for Zorni. He's going to have to probably end up drawing some Cypher's Wraths here, but MrTea just drawing exactly what he wants to see this game. Going to be able to get an aggressive land too if he wants it.
And Zorni's on 0 fairy. I know after this turn, not going to have any collectors on board. It's going to be hard to get any major threats in to counter what MrTea's up to.
Oh, I misspoke. No aggressive land is coming this turn. Did have to draw. He did.
Not even enough for Recoilcopter.
Yep. That would have been a very, very good Recoilcopter if he was able to play it, but now the creatures are going to be a little bit too far spread.
Right, they're going to...
Yeah. Aggressive land incoming.
Yep. I think his options here, probably Manta Rider. Save that Windborn Champion for kind of closing out.
Cypher's Wrath a little bit late. I mean, Ground Shaker is an option, but at that point you're just kind of losing value on your Cypher's Wrath. So Zorni's trying to figure out what he wants to do to most efficiently clear. I would imagine probably make a land Recoilcopter above the Manta Rider, and then Cypher the Manta Rider, and then you should like theoretically be able to clear the 2/2 with the copter, yeah. But
it's still you're investing all your fairy.
Yep.
2 cards and MrTea's double collection up there.
Yeah.
And able to drop.
Those last nightmares coming down with force this game from MrTea.
Yeah.
That Grimguard would have been extremely good if that last nightmare would not have been played.
Yeah.
For Zorni, yeah.
We're going to see Cypher's Wrath there and Baldurian, maybe? Protected Baldurian. Maybe he's planning to clear that with +1 into a... Although he can't ignore the that Manta Rider down there. MrTea could even set up shift onto his mountain. and drop a Windborn Emissary for 5. Yes, Zorni's been down on Faria and hasn't been able to play Ground Shakers. Silent Horsemaster isn't optimal at all. We're going to see that Windborn Champion push back the Baldurian so it doesn't get the value of from its corruption ability. When it would have stepped onto one of these deserts, it would have put a Hammer of Destruction, which is a very solid Pandora card. Oh, but he's getting it off anyways from Silent Horsemaster. There's the Hammer of Destruction. Let's take a look. Deal 5 damage. Do anything. Shuffle a hammer back into your deck.
Yeah.
Spending it on the Windborn Champion, and the Silent Horsemaster is able to...
Uh-oh.
Yeah, right? Do you just use Choking Sands on the...
Yeah, I think so. Probably a good idea. And I mean, you could even +1 into possibly a fairy. No, you couldn't. But you definitely Choking Sand the Horsemaster this turn, I would imagine. If you don't, then Copter comes down to clear it, so...
Right.
Like, full clear and then you're kind of... Eh. Oh, I was kind of hoping Zorni was going to draw the hammer this turn. So Zorni actually does have a pretty interesting clear. He can just collect with the Baldurian, hit the Manta Rider, and then use Recalcopter to clear the 2/2. But we see Choking Sand in hand, and that could potentially be 5 damage on face if MrTea chooses to get rid of the Recalcopter. Yeah, I mean it was Zorni's only real line this turn. Shaker probably wasn't a good idea, and Choking Sand's
and
come
with the
second
second
now.
Choking coming down,
Yeah.
Looks like that'll be it.
Not much Zorni can do here, unless he draws the hammer. Yeah,
Oh,
I
man.
mean he draw for the hammer. That's okay. Just gonna not.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, that's it.
that's it. Yep. MrTea
Great
takes
series.
out Zorni. Yeah, great series though.
We got to see some really diverse deck.
Yeah, kind of followed a standard kind of formula with start with this deck and then green yellow and then red yellow and then red. It's kind of like the traditional cycle of countering decks, but still really great play from both players. Yeah. I mean,
that was exciting.
Yeah, that was exciting.
Really
I like
impressed
that.
with the green yellow sacrifice mirror.
Yeah, and MrTea almost taking down Zorni's red yellow there with double Soul Eater in that one game, but
right,
a little bit off. Still managed to pull the victory out at the end though. But
yeah, well played to Zorni and MrTea. Great series.
Great series. So we will be back shortly with another match as it comes up, but for now we're going to go ahead and take a small break until we find another match. So thank you for your patience again.
See ya.